Welcome all as we congregate to the greatest toy line in community, ever growing, ever changing. As we collect and adapt these figures to our own imaginations and embrace the fun, there's much to learn, especially if you're new to Mythics. Good morning, good afternoon, welcome friends. Thank you for being here for another episode 12 with my man Joe Gonsalves. Thank you very, very much. I appreciate you coming in and waking up early. I know we're a few hours time difference, so I appreciate you knocking the sleep out of your eyes and getting some coffee and coming in here and being on my show. I appreciate that very much.
Yeah, absolutely. I'm happy to be here, man. Thanks for the invite. This that you offered, and I was like, man, that sounds like fun. Let's do this. So.
Yeah, it's been in the works for a while now, so I appreciate you working with me in my I have a crazy business work schedule, so I appreciate you
totally
working it out and waking up early. Thank you very much.
Yeah, no problem at all.
So this show, New to Mythics, is I always say it's kind of a welcoming for the people that are new to the line. I like to hear other people's stories about how they were introduced to the line, but I also like to hear like what they're collecting and kind of like their journey to becoming fans of the Mythic line. And I don't know, it's just interesting. And I was talking to Dave Orkin the other day about creative outlets like within the cabal or within the community. You know, some people will focus on like the 3D printing, like Pete Johnson, and you know, like Wolf King and all these, you know, amazing creative outlets in that aspect. But other people like you or like me, I guess now, we like to do shows and stuff like that and talk about it on the you know, and so I think it's just a fun outlet, you know, like you and I were just talking about that. It's cool to conversate with friends, especially if we're in the middle of nowhere like me and you. We're kind of I'm centrally located and you're in Nevada, and like you said, there's not really a lot of people, you know, I can't lean on the fence and talk action figures with anybody near me, so it's cool to go on and talk with friends about this toy line that we love.
Yeah, absolutely, man. And you know, that was part of the cool stuff, like being in the cabal. When I came in, I did collect the figures, but I didn't really do anything else with them. So you know, it was just collect them, put them on a shelf.
Right.
And I didn't even pop and swap. You know, it wasn't.
Really I didn't either. I didn't even know about it until later. You know, until I really was kind of delving into the cabal. I had no idea that they were, you know, interchangeable. I had no idea.
Yeah, and then I get in there and I see all these ultra talented people, you know, popping and swapping and customizing and taking, you know, toy photography and doing shows. And, you know, it's been a really a slow process. I eased into all of it. I didn't want to just jump in, you know, but, you know, I started customizing after watching Jeremy Gerard's show.
And, I have a few of your pictures while we're talking. Sorry, I didn't mean to interrupt.
Oh, no, no problem at all. Yeah, I started customizing and doing some pop and swaps. And then, you know, from that, watching Trevor and some of the stuff that he did, Trevor and Nate, you know, with their toy photography. Yeah, that was a tribute I did for Curtis, actually. That's in his collection. But,
that's cool.
You know, it just, all of it is fun. And I wouldn't consider myself like an artistic person, you know, but the journey of learning how to do all this stuff has been super fun and enjoyable. And painting is so relaxing.
It's like a creative outlet.
Right.
Yeah, right. It's a creative outlet. That's how I always say, like, I'll talk to some people that paint like you know, on canvas, And I'm like, oh yeah, I paint too. And they're like, oh, you do? And I'm like, yeah, but it's not good, but it's a creative outlet. You know what I mean? You don't have to be good
Right.
at something to practice it. You know, it's not about that.
I think that's how you get good. You know,
Yes.
the first stuff that I painted was not good, you know. It's always strange for me to get compliments, you know, over any of the customs that I do. I still feel like they're not like that great, but you know, it people will compliment me and it was like, man, I could barely draw a stick figure when I started,
Right.
you know. So
Yeah. And
yeah,
I think for some people, it's not about like, you're not saying, oh, you know, I want to be like a master or something. It's not really that. I think it's just, it's an outlet. I think people that are creative need to create. You know, it's like an
right.
itch inside them. They want to create. And yeah, you want your whatever you're making to be the best possible, you know, but I think it's almost like a therapeutic process for yourself to make something. You know, it's like
Yeah.
I've painted stuff or I've written stories and maybe they're not what I intended or not what I thought that they would be when I was done, but it's the
Mhm.
process too. You know, it's the
Yeah.
journey of you know getting there, you know, for yourself and you know where it takes you. So it's a
Yeah.
satisfying thing.
Absolutely. Yeah,
But
absolutely.
yeah, I love that. I love that about this line. So let's go backwards a little
Okay.
bit. Sorry, I was jumping ahead. Um, so what when did you start collecting? When were you not collecting mythic but collecting, you know, figures? When did you like start to have that you know, that fever, that urge or that
Uh, so very young. So my family moved from the Bay Area to Nevada when I was like 3 or 4 years old. I was
Mhm.
very young, and but my dad at the time still worked in the Bay Area, so he would commute back and forth every week.
Oh
You
wow.
know, yeah, for a while
That's a
until
commute for
he
sure.
got until he got a job here. And but when he would stop at truck stops and buy me comic books.
Wow, that's an
You know,
awesome dad. Yeah, that's
yeah,
cool. My
and
dad,
he
I mean, if I asked him, he would, but like he would bring home a car sometimes or a Hot Wheel,
right,
and he would buy me a comic if I was with him at with the, you know, we would go into little, we call them liquor stores. They're called
right,
party stores here or
yeah,
something, party
like
supplies. But
like a
yeah,
convenience
liquor
store or
stores.
something like
Yeah,
that.
convenience
Yeah,
store. Yeah, we
hmm
call them liquor stores, but yeah, convenience stores,
right,
7-Eleven or whatever. And you know, he would get his whatever, and I would be at the comic book rack, you know, grabbing a
right,
comic or something.
yeah, for sure, man. And that's that was the thing. Like back then, there was actually comic book racks, and there's a lot of truck stops in Nevada because everything is really far apart.
Hmm.
Like things are just not close. Like the closest town to where I live is 70 miles. So, you know,
Wow. Okay.
there's a
Yeah,
lot of
that's a
truck
waste.
stops. So he would stop at these truck stops. He would get home on Saturday morning and have like 5 or 6 comic books for me. And
Wow, that's awesome.
it was actually how I learned to read. My mother, being the saint that she is dealing with me, um, I would want her to read it. Would you read me this? And she said, like if it's a Spider-Man comic, she would say, I'll read it to you, but you have to read everything that Spider-Man says. And that's actually how I learned to read was
Wow,
from
that's pretty
because the
damn cool.
desire was there. I wanted to know what they wanted to
Yeah,
say. So
you're interested. Yeah.
yeah. So getting into comics early like that in my life, I think getting into toys was a natural transition.
Hmm.
I had some hand-me-down toys. My brothers were quite a bit older than me, 12 and 14 years older than me, and I got some of their hand-me-down toys, but they were like Western figures and I'm gonna Big Jim stuff like that. They had some of
Yeah,
those, but
I
not
think the
very
toys were
much.
a little bit different back then as opposed to when
Yeah,
we were growing up.
but I remember like when Secret Wars and
Mhm.
the DC Superpowers line came
Mhm.
out, like because I was so into superheroes from the comic books already, I couldn't wait to get into those. I remember going to a Sears with my parents when I was very young, and that giant Masters of the Universe display with Castle Grayskull and things like that. Now, I'm probably remembering it being a lot bigger than it actually was because I was very small. But
Right.
to me,
Yeah.
it was
Right.
just amazing. Like, oh, I want this. And this was before the cartoon was even out.
Mhm.
The figures looked so cool. And
Yeah. Yeah. I
you
agree.
know,
Yeah. I remember in the comic books, you reminded me they had the advertisements for the Secret Wars. I think they were like hand drawn. Um, the comics that I got, like Rom
mhm,
Space Knight or
right.
or even the Secret Wars comic book, which was
Hmm.
like to me was like the biggest. It was like a 12-issue miniseries,
Yep.
and it was like an event. All the heroes that you loved were all together fighting and all
Together.
that stuff. So yeah, you to get
Yeah.
the action figures, it was just like, whoa, I can reenact all this cool stuff. But
Right.
yeah,
Right.
I remember the ads in the comics. So it does kind of, it is interlaced. The stuff that
Yeah.
are in
I, I,
comics and
I definitely feel like the comic books were a springboard to get into collecting toys,
Mhm.
just another outlet for my childhood imagination. And I love playing with toys. And then Saturday morning cartoons, I I hear the
Absolutely.
jokes a lot about the cartoons just being an advertisement for the toys, but that was one of my favorite parts,
Yeah. No, I
'cause
agree with you, and I think that that's true. But the cartoons were good though. It's like I
mhm,
could still sit and watch GI Joe or
right.
Transformers or Thundercats and still be entertained. I think there's still, you know,
Yeah, yeah,
it's good. It's a good product.
the format was good.
You're cutting out a little bit, Joe. Are you there?
Sorry about that. Yeah, yeah, I'm here.
Okay. It's froze. There we go. There you go. You froze up for a second there.
Yeah,
But
sorry
yeah,
about that.
I love. No, that's okay. I know you. I've heard about your internet already. They were. Who was that? Curtis that was saying something about your connection or something.
Yeah, so that's one of the negatives of living in a very small town is you don't have many options for internet, and I just upgraded to the Elon Musk Starlink internet, which is fantastic. I'm getting upload and download speeds that I never thought were
Nice.
possible where I live.
Yeah, and you're
It's
a gamer
amazing.
too, right? So
Yeah, yeah. I don't
yeah,
I don't
so
play
you
too
need
many
that.
online games, but the main thing was for streaming. Like if I
Mhm.
made a custom and I wanted to show my custom on the show, and it took a really long time before anybody really said anything, which is a shame. I would hold up the figure and people would be like, "Oh wow, that's cool." And then if I rewatched the show later, it's like you can't even see what I'm holding up. Like everything's too blurry because my upload speeds were
They're
so low.
nice. Like, oh yeah, it looks
You know,
good. Looks great. I love it.
right? And they were just being nice, and then
Yeah,
but
and your eyes are
fortunately, I have
closed, and you're like, you can't even see the figure.
right.
You're like frozen.
Trevor Williams, this last when I held up my gold knight, and he goes, "It looks like you're holding a ball of tissues." I
Oh, that's what that was from. I heard you
yes,
mention that
yeah,
in was it Off World or
on off world, yeah, the
yeah,
previous week. So
I
I
look
I
like a
had made
box of tissues. That was
a
funny.
gold knight, a solid gold skeleton. Excuse me. I'm taking the
Mhm.
original gold knight and gold skeleton. I combine them together. It's like my desk figure, just like a play around figure, and it's just
Mhm.
all the parts are gold, and I think it's a really neat combination. But there I am trying to show it off, and it's just nothing but like a ball of fuzz. And so now I've actually upgraded my internet. Well, it's good enough that I can actually show things
Mhm.
off and stuff like that,
Yeah,
and have people actually see what I have. But there's some
right.
kind of issue, and it might be with my computer. Maybe it can't handle the higher bit rates or something like that. But every once in a while,
Yeah.
it gets this little bit of lag. But it's not
Mhm.
it's not the internet because the internet speeds are great. So I'll
Yeah,
dig into that at some point and find out what that
yeah,
little occasional lag is. So
yeah, yeah. It's all right. It works. So you said Secret Wars and Superpowers. Yeah, those are two lines that I really loved as a kid. They were really,
oh,
I think,
absolutely.
for the time, really well made figures. I mean, Secret
Yeah.
Wars had what the 5 points of articulation, but they were
Hmm.
fun. They had the shields with the hologram, and they gave us figures that you know, we never had before, like Dr. Octopus, Dr. Doom,
Yeah.
you know, trying to think, Daredevil. I remember that there was a Daredevil figure I had.
Right.
Um,
Yeah, the Black Spider-Man from the Secret
Black
Wars comic,
Spider-Man.
you
It's like,
know, it was
geez, these
really
figures, and they're just nice. They're nice figures.
right. You know, they had a
And
good
super,
aesthetic. And Superpowers
yes,
was all about the play features, but they
yeah,
looked really good. Like
yeah,
Superman
that,
looked like Superman.
yeah,
Batman looked like Batman, you know, like
yes,
those are
yeah. Their
really
knees bent, and you know they had better articulation, soft goods. You know, the
action
cape with
features.
the
Yeah.
knee ring. You know, that held.
Yeah.
I'm like, whoever designed those, I mean, they really had, you know, the aesthetic in mind, but also playability and looks.
Yep.
You know, that Batman still holds up. It's still a great figure. There's a
Yeah.
reason
They
why McFarlane
definitely.
is
Yeah.
emulating that line
Right.
now, you know, because
Hmm.
it was such a good time, you know, for us to be
Oh,
fans of toys and you know, interested in that type of stuff. It was a good
yeah.
time for us.
Absolutely. We
Now,
were
being
definitely
a
fortunate.
being poor, that was
Right.
for me, that was a whole nother issue. You know, I had to trade and figure things out, but you know,
Hmm.
I'd go to friends' houses and play with their toys because they had some good stuff. But
Right. Right. Yeah. You know, that was being in a small town in Nevada, there wasn't a lot of accessibility to
mhm,
toys. So whenever
yes,
we would travel, it was always me like formulating a plan on the car ride. Like, how am I going to
yes,
convince mom to get me an action figure, you know?
right,
And
yes,
and since like if we went to like Reno, that was an hour and a half drive just to get there, you know, for them to go to a doctor appointment or something like that. So, you know, I'd play it up a little bit. Oh, it's so hot. And, you know, this was before air conditioning, before we had
right.
air conditioning. So,
Yes, you had a
and I kind of
strategy. I
play,
like that. Yeah, I like
yeah,
that.
play it up a
Yeah,
little bit so
Mom, I
they'd
didn't
feel
bring anything. I don't have anything. I'm bored.
right.
You know,
So,
what's
you know,
up?
that was, I'd usually end
I
up going
like
home
that.
with an action figure. So, you know, I was pretty fortunate in that
Yeah.
way.
So what would be like your, you know, if you had a strategy, what were you thinking, like what you would like to, you know, pick up? What
So I rarely had anything specific in mind. I loved going to the toy aisles back then, and it was just like
loaded?
amazing, you know, to see
Yes.
because there was no other than TV commercials, there was no real forms of media.
Right.
Uh, you know, like social media wasn't really a thing or anything like that. So I might
Right.
go
Yeah, they
in
hadn't thought about that yet.
you know, want like a superhero figure might be what I was thinking, but then I saw the new GI Joe figures that had come out and been like, oh man, I've never seen anything like that. This guy comes with a condor, you know, like you know, just something
Right.
would blow my
Yeah.
mind and be like, that's what I need, you know. So
Yeah.
there was.
I remember
Oh,
yeah, my buddy would
go
go
ahead.
to
Yeah.
he was a single child, so he,
Mm.
you know, he had doubles of everything, but I would go with him to Toys R Us. I don't know if you guys had a Toys R Us in Nevada,
Yeah, in Reno
but
we did. Yeah.
I mean, I didn't have access to that stuff. Like I was not, you know, my parents didn't take me to, you know, toy stores and stuff like that. Not when I was a little bit older, maybe when I was,
Hmm.
you know, 5 or 6. Yeah, but so I would go with him to like a Toys R Us or a Sears or and just be like blown away. Like you said, the wall, it was just wall to wall. Like,
Yeah.
you know, like this whole wall was G.I. Joe, or this whole wall over here was Transformers or
Hmm.
Masters of the Universe. And it was just like, oh my God, just overwhelming so much. You know, there was no like scalping, there was no, you know, everything was there. It's like, you
Yeah.
know, they had everything. So it
Yeah.
was a good time
Absolutely,
for
man.
sure. Yeah.
Yeah.
So
You know,
you,
and like my parents, didn't they wouldn't get like cable television or anything like that. You know, it was very much a if you're bored, go play outside kind of
right.
thing. You know, and I
Yeah.
grew up on a ranch, so there was plenty of room to go play outside. We're
Yeah.
next to
Go
a
grab a
river and
stick and
stuff like that.
get your
So
sword.
yeah, so I didn't have like I didn't even see a lot of commercials. I don't think that other people did. Like I only watched cartoons on Saturday mornings, and that was it. So you know,
Mhm.
um, it was always great to get into a toy aisle and see all the new stuff and just drool over it, you know,
Yes.
like, ah, that's so cool. I want that,
Yeah.
you know.
I think back then too, we really had to rely on imagination. you
Mhm.
know, like we had to make up our own adventures. If you didn't see like, this He-Man cartoon, or didn't see, if you weren't socially, if you didn't have like, what am I trying to say? It's like we had to go outside and make up our own stories and our own adventures, you know.
Right, right.
So
Yeah,
I think that was.
I was already quite a bit older, like when Nintendo and things like that became popular. So
Mhm.
there's no video games. I wasn't spending any time on social media because it didn't exist, you know.
Right.
So it was
Yeah.
all just like go out. I might have like like a toy rifle or something like that, and just
Mhm.
grab that and go out. And it's like, okay, we're in the army today, and
Yeah.
tomorrow
Yeah.
we're in
But
the
I think
old
that was good
west.
for us. I
Yeah,
think it was good for us to imagine and have that, instead of everything being given to us, or, having so much at our fingertips. We want to go out and have some adventures, and, you know,
yeah, yeah, absolutely.
use our imagination.
Imagination is important. I think that the creativity that you develop using your imagination and things like that. I
Yes.
know modern forms of entertainment. Like I love video games now as an adult, but I don't have to imagine anything. It's very interactive, which is
Mhm.
amazing. That you can get. This is the highest level of interactivity with entertainment that
It's
we've
come a
ever
long
had
way
before.
since Frogger,
Yeah,
or yeah,
right.
Defender and
But
Frogger and all those.
but you're not exercising your imaginations or problem
Right,
solving.
right. It's being handed to you.
Acumen
It's
doing those
being,
kinds of
yeah,
things. Yeah. So
yeah. I agree.
I'll agree
I
with
agree.
that for
But
sure.
I think that's cool though, that your parents seem to be supportive of, you know the things that you liked. They were cognizant of, if toys and comics and things like that. I think I think that's cool, that your
Yeah.
parents were, because I mostly grew up with my grandparents, and
Mhm.
like they didn't see the need for, toys and stuff like that. Like they were hard, farm people, kind of like what we were
Right.
talking about earlier. It's like
Mhm.
they were, they had no need for that type of soft stuff. I'm over here with my Boba
Yeah.
Fett, and, outside playing and stuff, and they didn't get
Mhm.
that. It's like, go build something, go, you know
Yeah.
go, do something,
Just go play.
productive.
Yeah. Go
Yeah, go
play.
play. If not, if
Yeah.
you come inside, you're gonna go to work. So I'm like, okay,
Right.
okay. But yeah, so I didn't have a lot of that. Um you know Things weren't really, so, you have to kind of,
Yeah.
be
So I
imaginative.
can. Yeah, I consider myself so lucky that they were like that, especially because my brothers were so different than I was. They were
Mhm,
in rodeo, they did motocross, like
mhm,
they played a lot of sports, every sport. So,
mhm,
like they were very different than I was. Now, my parents are hardworking immigrant farm people, so they weren't interacting with me over those
mhm.
things, because even when my dad would bring me the comic books, he didn't know who the characters were or
Yeah,
anything. He would
but I
just
still think
just
that that's
grab
cool.
stuff. But it
Yeah, I
was, and
think
I
it's
and I
thoughtful that
was
they did do that, though.
I was so lucky and had such a good childhood that they never tried to suppress anything that I was interested in. They were
Mhm.
all for it, just as long as I didn't have to bother them with it. So
Right.
you know,
Yeah. Yeah. I don't want to see that. I don't care about that nonsense. I don't care about that. But, here you can. But that's cool. That's cool that they were like that. I think that's awesome. So, did you always collect? Were you always in that collecting mode? With your figures and stuff like that, or did you like uh, take breaks? Like growing up, did you discover, when you just discovered like girls and pickup trucks and stuff like that?
yeah.
Did you kind of?
So I'd almost say that 16 was a definitive cutoff for
Mhm.
me. My interests expanded at that point in time, and it was
Well
a
said.
hundred
Well
percent.
said, sir. Yeah.
Yeah, it was 100%. I wanted to, um, you know, hang out with my friends and
Mhm.
party and meet girls and do all that kind of stuff. So I
Mhm.
100% dropped everything. I didn't collect comics anymore. I didn't collect toys, anything like that. Almost for exactly 10 years. And then I got married when I was I got married when I was 18 and had a child. So my focus changed. 16 to 18 was the party time. 18, it was time to get serious. I got a job at a local mine, and then my focus was on my family for that time. And I didn't really feel like anything to do with myself was really important,
Right.
So,
yeah. So you didn't really focus on pleasurable things that interest you, maybe.
Right.
You had more of the focus on building your family and being responsible and stuff like that.
Yeah, because I did everything in a really unintelligent way. So my
when we're young, we're not using our brain.
Absolutely, and I had such a great childhood, but I did everything that I could to mess it up, and my girlfriend was pregnant before I had a job. So we were, money wise, we were in a hole for a long time and things like that, trying to get caught up. And, it was a difficult time, but a good time, but then, after 10 years, I ended up getting divorced from my first wife. And, I was drinking a lot and not handling it very well. And to try and find some positivity to kind of try and pull me out of that hole, I tried to go back to things that made me happy when I was younger. And I actually started buying some Jack specific wrestling figures.
So how did you come about that? Were you just like at a store one day and, you're like, what, I'm going to check this out. Like, how did it like come into your peripheral?
Yeah, I think that was pretty much it. The neighbor town that I was referencing has a Walmart, and I was in Walmart doing my own shopping, which I hadn't done in like 10 years, and
just
bullshit.
Walking. I might as well look at some figures while I'm here.
Right. And then I'm walking by the toy aisle and I see some Star Wars figures. And I was just like, oh yeah, I used to collect Star Wars figures when I was a kid, and I went over and I had a decent job. So like, I was just like, I'm going to buy a couple of these, these are pretty cool. And I grab a few Star Wars figures and a few wrestling figures, and coming home and opening those up, it made me happy.
Yes.
And then I discovered eBay, which I don't know if it was a positive or a negative,
right?
But, for a while dealing with that depression, I had stuff showing up almost every day, and it was kind of nice to get home from work and every day I had something to distract my mind with, something to play with until
I get that.
Until I got my head straight, which I did eventually, but it really got me through that time,
Yeah, I agree. And I think people that do collect understand that, they call it like plastic therapy. Like I have this room upstairs, and it's tiny. It's like, a large bathroom sized room. But it's, wall to wall with things that I love. So even if I've got 10 minutes, of my own time, I'll come in here and just sit down or look at a figure and, pick up, Ghost Rider or whatever, and just kind of like, just be happy for a minute and just feel that, be surrounded by things that you love. And
absolutely, man.
It's real, man. And it can get you through some difficult, tough times, personally.
Oh yeah,
by
for
having
sure.
some of that, and I agree with like, getting the packages in. It's like there's not a lot you can control right now, but like if you can, buy a little something off of eBay or whatever, then something comes. It's just it's a little gift to yourself, and it just
So it never fixed any of my problems, but there was things like drinking alcohol. it did the same thing in a different way. It definitely distracted me from what my problems were at the time, but there were
Mm-hmm.
negatives associated with it, you know?
Right.
And
Yeah.
that's what the getting back into toy collecting really was a positive without negatives, you know, to
Mm-hmm.
me. I wasn't, you know, I didn't wake up hungover because I got a new Han Solo action
Right.
figure, you know, and things
Right.
like that. You
Yeah.
know, I
Yeah. The only
wasn't
thing it would
struggling
affect
at
maybe is
work.
your wallet, but yeah.
Right. You know, and you know that can be a real part of it too. I don't want to minimize that, but you know, if I had to eat ramen noodles for a few days so that I could get
Worth
something
it.
cool that I
Worth it.
wanted, totally worth it. Yeah.
Absolutely. Yeah. Yeah. I mean, yeah, ramen. You can make you know, you can make good top ramen, you know, no problem.
Absolutely, man. Absolutely. So
You can fix it up for
priorities. You
sure.
gotta have priorities. So.
Absolutely. Absolutely. So that was kind of like the beginning of you know, the more
For
modern Joe. You started collecting,
kind of.
or did you take
So
okay.
so after
Walk us
I
through it. What happened?
single for about 2 years, and then I got remarried. And
You
when
jumped
I
back
got
into it again, huh?
I did. Oh man, I ain't. Mama didn't raise no quitter, so you just
Right.
keep trying until you get it right. Um, yeah,
Exactly.
yeah. I got married again, and you know, so then she had 2 kids. I had 2 kids, both from previous marriages, and then we had one together. So we had 5 kids plus
Mhm.
ourselves. I had to focus away from toys again. It was back
Right.
to, you know, working and things like that.
Mhm.
And so, you know, I did leave out Dungeons and Dragons when I was 15. I started playing D&D with some friends of mine, and
Mhm.
I've always loved Dungeons and Dragons. You want to talk about an
That's a
outlet?
blast. Yeah,
Yeah, an
a
outlet
creative
from,
outlet.
yeah, for imagination, man. That Dungeons and Dragons is it. So, um, I was collecting D&D miniatures at the time. So
Mhm.
they would come out with these waves of free painted miniatures, and they sold them like trading cards. You would buy a box and then you'd get random ones inside.
Yeah,
So
I remember
um,
those. Yeah.
yeah, even though I didn't collect toys, whenever I had a chance, there was a hobby store in that neighbor town. Whenever we would go shopping out of town or anything like that, I'd swing through and grab a few boxes, you know, and
Yeah.
usually pick up the new issues of Toy Fair magazine.
Oh, I love that magazine. I miss
So
that
good.
magazine.
Yeah, so
Yeah,
much.
love that
Really,
magazine
I
so
do too.
much.
So,
I would look
um,
forward to it. Yeah.
right. So at the time, um, they Toy Fair magazine had the Four Horsemen Seventh Kingdom figures. You know, they were
Mhm.
showing them off in the magazine. So, I talked to the store owner. You know, he ran the shop himself, and I was like, man, these are really cool. Like, you know, and he goes, yeah, I was going to get some of them in, so you know, you can check them out. And he held a couple for me. So I got some of the Seventh Kingdom figures, and they were amazing. Like
Mhm.
just articulation and visuals and everything. Just it wasn't what you were getting at the time, you know.
Yeah.
Um,
I just have just seen them lately. I hadn't really seen them before. I guess they were not in my, you know,
yeah,
awareness.
and that was a long time ago too, you know. And they're fairly rare right now. Of course, I ended up with a full set, but you know that's but I'd gotten a few of those, but I wasn't collecting them, you know. It was just something cool,
Mhm.
like the McFarlane dragons. I would see one and I'd be like,
Right.
"Oh, that's cool," and I'd grab it here and
Yeah.
there. But really,
Pick it
my
up.
focus
Yeah.
was on my family. But then
Mhm.
after 5 years, I ended up getting divorced again,
Mhm.
and again not
No,
handling it very well. Yeah, um,
I'm
you
seeing
know,
a
and
pattern here, Joe.
well, hopefully the pattern is over. I'm in
Yes.
my third serious relationship, and I
Yeah.
think I got it right this time.
You got it figured
But
out now. Good for you.
yeah,
Good for
or
you.
maybe
As
just
long
got
as you're
lucky.
still playing
Either
with
way,
toys.
yeah. Well, then you know, I'm divorced. I'm drinking to the level that you know, I was an alcoholic. I
Mhm.
whenever I wasn't working, I was drinking, and there after a period of time, you know, I was making some mistakes at work that almost got me fired. I knew
Yeah.
that I needed to do something to get myself out of this hole of depression.
Mhm.
And you know, I already knew, like, hey, you know, I was collecting toys so before, and that really helped. Let's do this again. So I had those few Seventh Kingdom figures.
Mhm.
So I got on eBay and started looking them up. I was like, I might as well try to, you know, to finish these sets. And it had been enough time that Gothotropolis had come out.
Mhm.
So I'm looking up Seventh Kingdom, and all of a sudden I see these super cool bird figures from the same company, and I'm like, wow, I got to get those too. So,
Yeah.
you know, I started collecting those, and then one day I'm doing searches because I could have got on there and bought everything at once, but that's not what I was looking for. I was looking for, you know, something that would keep me
Yeah, and that's fun. Yeah, I do that
focused
too.
on
It's like,
that. Yeah.
yeah, it's like, you know, I tell people it's like reward yourself. People are like, oh, you know, it's expensive or what. I'm like, you just get a figure every once in a while. You know, when you have
Yeah.
some extra money, order a figure. You know, go pick
Right.
something up. You know, give yourself a
Yeah,
gift. Come on,
for
my
sure.
dog's
So
come on, come on.
I got all the Seventh Kingdom.
Are you there, Joe?
Sorry about that. Did I lock up
Nope,
again?
that's okay. Yep, just for a
Okay.
second. Just for a
Right.
second.
So one day, you know, and I play Dungeons and Dragons. My favorite class to play is the Paladin, you know. And
Yeah, I love the
one
Paladin. I'm
day
a
I'm
fan
looking
too.
at, yeah, I'm looking at Gothotropolis, and here's this gold knight. And I was like, oh my God, that is the coolest thing I've ever seen. You know, like there were D&D figures before, or medieval style figures, but
Mhm.
they didn't look like Mythic Legions, you know.
Right.
So I was like, Mythic Legions, and then I do a search, and it's the first wave of Mythic Legions had come out, you know, and people were
And that was a
posting
big
them.
wave too, right? There was quite a
It
few
was
figures.
there, it was, yes.
It was
And
the Kickstarter, right? The Kickstarter wave
right. Mm-hmm.
because they kept on meeting their goals, so they kept
Adding figures, yes. And
adding figures.
yeah, so I dove headlong into those because it definitely scratched that Dungeons and Dragons itch
That
that I had,
fantasy,
you
yeah,
know.
that fantasy, yeah.
Yeah. And I actually kept collecting. I had the first wave complete before the next wave had even come out, but
Mhm.
I was a little wary of the internet, you know, back then. It was, I wasn't comfortable like doing the pre-orders or anything like that. So
Mhm.
I would wait for them to release and then buy them through eBay, um, until eventually, you know, I got familiar enough with the community to realize that, you know, and enough figures came out. I was like, this isn't just a fleeting thing. This is sticking
Right.
around, you know. And then I
Mhm.
finally started getting in on the pre-orders. But
Mhm.
and then, you know, I was so involved with these, I was like, I need more, you know, and then so I remember doing a search on YouTube for Mythic Legions, and the Adam Power channel is Ramirez being the only one that came up. Like he was the only
Mhm.
one at the time really doing any you know, anything to do with Mythic Legions. And then through his channel, eventually he mentioned Jeremy Gerard and Mythic Customs. So I was like, hey, more Mythic Legion stuff. I got to check
Right.
this out. So I started watching Jeremy on his channel pretty early on, and you know, he's doing customizing, and I had never really even thought about that before. I think I tried to do because Jack Specific never got a Macho Man Randy Savage license, you know, to do any of his figures. I remember trying to do a custom, and you know, my parents like, that doesn't look anything like him, you know. I was like, forget this, you
What do
know.
you know? Yeah,
Right.
it's fine. It works.
So, but watching Jeremy and seeing, you know, he made it, you know, he started with the simple things, you know,
Yeah,
and
yeah.
talked
I
about them.
love
And it
those
was like,
instructional videos.
yeah, it was like creating your own figures, because I would get such an excitement from these figures when I'd get them, but there was such a big gap in between them coming out that customizing gave me that feeling of,
Mhm.
you know, here's a new figure that I can be excited about while I'm waiting for the
Right.
official figures to come out, you know. So I
Yeah.
started delving into that, and when I delve into things, I tend to go pretty heavy into them, you know. So
But
I
it's a
really,
creative outlet for you too, I think,
yeah,
you know.
yeah, for sure. And then you know, Jeremy on his show mentioned the Cabal as the you know, official fan. I didn't really use social media
Mhm,
at all for anything, so I downloaded Facebook and got on the Cabal in 2019, and
mhm,
then the rest is history. Just, you know, I got on there. I think the first interaction that I had with another Cabal member on a personal level was Colin Culp. He had posted that he was looking for the feet for the Flamingus figure,
yeah,
and I was like, "Oh, I got those." You know, so you know,
mhm.
I interacted with Colin. He was such a super nice guy. You know, which even in
He is,
2019, meeting nice
yeah,
people on the internet wasn't super common. You know,
right?
so
I agree. No, yeah,
yeah,
Colin, I had seen him in the Cabal, and then I had actually ran into him at PowerCon. I mean, he's unmistakable with his beard. You know, I saw
right.
him, he was looking at something, and I go, "You're Colin Culp," and he's like, "Yeah, you got a weird last name, Schmer something," and I'm like, "Yeah, Schmerber," and he's like, "Oh, yeah, yeah, yeah," and he goes, "Yeah, I've seen you in the Cabal and stuff," and we just,
Hmm.
you know, we were buds after that. But
Awesome,
yeah, such a nice
awesome,
guy. But I
super
just
nice
love
guy.
how many good folks there are, you know, in this community. Just good
Oh,
people and helping and share, and that's cool that you helped, you know, with the feet and stuff. That was cool.
yeah, you know, and it actually ended up becoming a theme for a while because I had gotten to the line so early on. So like on eBay, it wasn't like it is today where the older figures were, you know, I would buy a big lot of Mythic Legions, you know, and they were priced around like what the Kickstarter or a few
Hmm.
dollars more. And I'd get like 10 figures in a bundle, you know. So I
Hmm.
had all these extras um of figures, you know, because if there was one figure in a 10 figure lot that I wanted, I'd just buy the whole lot, you know,
Right.
if
Yeah.
it was
Yeah.
reasonably priced.
Yeah. Yeah.
And so I started doing trades with people.
Mhm.
I wasn't so so with my hobbies, like this is fun for me. If I try to make money off of it, it ruins that fun for
I
me. That's
agree. I
just that's just how
100%
I'm
agree.
yeah, that's just how
No,
I'm
I'm
geared,
with
you
you.
know.
Yeah.
So it'd be like when I started finding out that these were rare, which is sad that I actually used like an atlas or took parts off of an Otho to use for
Oh,
customizing
there's
before
people
I
who are
had.
like, oh, but I mean,
I kind of
your
felt bad
mindset
after.
was, yeah, your
Yeah, I had no
mindset was
idea.
not,
I
oh,
had
this
no
is a
idea that it's a
expensive
toy.
figure. This is, yeah, it's a toy.
Yeah,
Yeah.
you know. So I had no idea. But then you know, I as I started finding out that these were rare and things like that, when there was people that I would interact with and they were kind and supportive and things
Mhm.
like that. If they needed a figure, it was like, hey man, I got an extra of that. And they're like,
Yeah.
what do you want for it? And I was like, oh, I got this custom planned. Do you have such and such Legion builder? You
Mhm.
know, and I would trade a Legion builder for a rare figure, you know, just because I wasn't going to do anything with the rare figures after I found out that they were
Yeah.
rare. You know, I wasn't going to
Yeah.
customize them. So, you know, if it helped people and I got something out of it that I wanted and
Yeah.
you
I,
know,
I love that mindset though. You know, it's like, I'm not
yeah,
trying to get over on you. You know, I'm not trying to take advantage or, um,
well, yeah, and what ended up the best thing about the whole thing is that doing that and then this was not an intentional thing, but I ended up making some friendship, like real friendships out of this, you
yes.
know,
Yeah.
because people just really appreciated the kindness, you know,
Mhm.
and
Absolutely.
I don't have any intentions of getting rich off of selling action figures. I actually hate selling things, anything. So,
Yeah,
you know,
I'm the same way. Yeah, like me and my buddy Mark, it's like, I sent him a Zarya because I had an extra, and
mhm,
he's like, well, how much? And I'm like, I don't really want to talk about like the value of this. I don't want to charge you this or that. It's like, just, trade me something, or if there's a new figure coming out in this wave or that wave, order me that. Like, I would rather have that than the money. Like
right,
it. I,
right.
I don't want to make it all about the money part.
Yeah,
That doesn't interest me. I'm not, like you said, I'm not trying to make or get rich off of, you know, selling this figure to you or something. It's like, you know, I your friendship is more important to me than making an extra $10 off of, you know,
absolutely. You
selling this
know,
figure. So,
and social media can be such a negative place. And I think the most important thing is that, you know, if like me, I deal with a lot of negativity in my life. You know, I work at a mine. I'm a union steward and a miner's rep. And, you know, we all have our personal lives that can be stressful and things like that. This is
yeah,
an escape. This is an escape for me. I
yes,
want collecting mythic legions to be a happy thing.
yes. You want to
Something
keep
for
it that
me,
way.
and
Yeah,
I want to keep it that way. So if you want something to be good, put good into it. You know, I really feel
yes,
that
a
way. You know,
1000%, dude. I
yeah,
couldn't agree with you more. You know, let's keep
right,
it pure. Let's keep it wholesome. Let's keep it
yeah.
good. You know,
So
and
that's what I want it to be. So that's what I try to put into it. You know,
yeah,
for sure.
yeah,
It's
and
just
I
like
think that
a mantra of mine.
there's a lot of people that have that same like-minded. You
Yeah.
know, like I don't know how many times I've seen, and I've also, you know, somebody's looking for something, and there's a line of people that comment,
Mhm.
oh yeah, I've got that, you know, what's your address, you know,
Right.
and that does my heart good. And I do the same, you know. Somebody like one of my buddies, Matt, he was I think we're talking about the female barbarian, which is one of my favorite figures.
Mhm.
And favorite figures, I'll like it, like you said, if there's a bundle of 3 or 4 different figures and that female barbarian is in there, I'll probably, if I can afford it, buy that bundle. So I've got
Right.
extra stuff, or I've got extra female barbarians. So I just sent him one. Like, here,
Yeah.
dude, you know, it's like it feeds my heart to
Hmm.
help other people, you know, and it's giving them something. And then, you know, maybe that will inspire somebody else. Not saying I'm inspiring people, I'm not saying that, but I'm saying maybe
I
that person will be like, you know, oh yeah, I've got that shield, you know, here, I'm not using that, here, you know, and send it to somebody else that needs, you
No, but
know.
I think you're spot on with that. You know, I've seen it so many times, not even in toy collecting, just in life, where you help somebody out, and then when they get in a good situation, they remember that. And I mean, it can go the
Yes,
other way too, but they remember, hey, I remember when I was down on my luck, and
yeah, yeah. I would rather keep that mindset of, you know, I would rather trust someone.
is just being
um
kind and
yes,
propagating kindness, you know.
yes, yeah,
So
I agree. So yeah, it's not just the toy line, it's just life in general, you know.
mhm.
Like,
Yeah,
try to
absolutely.
help and try to give. Yeah,
You know, you
I
never
agree.
and it's almost become a trope at this point where to say that you never know what somebody's going through, but you know, it's so true that you know so many
Absolutely.
people, you know, just bury the negatives in their life. They don't talk about them. They don't share those things, which is completely understandable, you know. Um, but then one simple little thing, an act of kindness, somebody sending them an action figure can be a bright point,
100%.
something positive for them to focus on. So,
100%.
you know, that's,
Absolutely.
yeah,
Yeah. It's easy.
I like
You know,
it
if
is
I can
so
make your day
easy.
a little bit better by sending you something, no
Right.
problem. You know, I will do
Right.
that. I will do that. Because there might be
Absolutely.
a time when I need that, you know, somebody sends me something. I'm like,
Yeah,
dude, thanks for thinking of me. I appreciate that very much. Thank you.
for sure.
You know,
For sure.
yeah, I agree. So I've noticed, I don't think I've really met you or talked to you very much before, but I do see
Right.
you quite a bit on different shows and stuff. So I wanted to kind of get in
Okay.
that before we uh, have to say goodbye. But um, I feel like, and I think we touched on it a little bit before. It's like where we live, we can't really, you know, connect with very many people locally.
Right.
So, you know, we kind of, you know, take to the airwaves and talk toys or talk, you know, our love of mythics.
Hmm.
So I've seen you on Off World, and
Hmm.
I've seen you on what's some of the other shows that you're
So
a part of?
I'll tell a quick story how
Go ahead.
all this online stuff actually started. I never did anything really online or had the intention of doing any shows or anything like that. But my girlfriend needed to do some online healthcare stuff, so I'd actually bought a webcam and a microphone just for her to do that. And Trevor Williams, Legion's Lounge, they were doing a show where they were bringing on, he just said, if anybody wants to come on the show for a few minutes, just hit me up. And I had helped Trevor get an ether on. He had mentioned on the show that he didn't have one and I had a spare. So I helped him get an ether on. Yeah. So I sent him a message. I don't know what I was thinking, but I was just like, I'm going to send Trevor a message. Hey, I'll be on the show. 100% thought that he'd be like, maybe next time, bud.
Yeah. Nice try, kid. I don't know.
Right. And he's, be ready at this time. And I was like, oh crap. I didn't even have the camera hooked up. So, I had never used it or anything. So I scrambled and got everything put together, and I ended up going on Legion's Lounge for like 10 minutes. And that was the first time I'd been on the show. But that interaction like that, talking about the toys, I was like, that was super fun, even though I was really nervous about it.
It's satisfying. Yeah. You're nervous the first couple times and right. Or talking to somebody new, you might have a little bit of nerves, but
those guys were super nice and guided me through it.
I love Nate is one of my favorite. Like, that guy is just super nice. He's actually the first person that I met in the line. Super nice guy, and so they were great. They guided me through it. So and then I had helped Jesse Arnold get a few figures, and Jesse was like, hey, do you want to come on Shooting the Shelf? And I was like, yeah, sure. And so that was my second time doing it, and it was, again, super fun. And through those two, it opened up more doors, where I got invited to do other things. And eventually, when Sean Skvarna stepped down from Offworld, they asked me if I was interested in stepping in as a co-host, and that got me started on Offworld. Jesse and Curtis were doing a segment with Ostradamus Toys called Legion's Class, and I just love Legion's content, so I was watching that. I did too. I did too.
Yeah, and ended up getting invited by Oz to come on his show, and then that's become a semi-regular thing, every other week.
Yeah, I didn't even know you were on that. I had heard about that show through Terrence, and I'm always working and or driving or doing something, but I had a chance to click on it because I subscribed to it, and I'm like, oh, there's Joe right there. It's like, Curtis gives me crap about being everywhere, but I'm like, Curtis, you're everywhere, dude. And then now Joe is everywhere, but I love that. I like that familiarity.
So for me, part of the big draw to that was that it's not a Mythic Legions focused show. Yes. So, getting into these other communities, whether they're Masters of the Universe or G.I. Joe, whatever they are, and helping introduce people to Mythic Legions and talk to it and see some of their genuine first reactions and things like that is just, I love it. It makes me so happy.
Oh yeah. It's satisfying. I had my friend Fernando on a couple episodes ago, and he's new to the line, and just like his reactions or the messages that he sends me, or I was just telling him yesterday, it's like, it's so interesting to see what people focus on in the line, because there's so many different figures. Like I focus mainly on female mythics, and he's doing like the gladiator stuff, and it's just interesting. I don't know if it's like like a Rorschach test or something that says something about you. I don't know. But I just think it's interesting, like what people focus on, in the line, because even if you're a completionist, you can still focus on, some people love just customs. Some people do the knights, like Joe Russo loves the knights. I love the knights too. Some people like the dwarves, you know, and they focus on that. So I think it's interesting, you know. Do you have like a focal on your collection besides having everything? You know, is there something that you're, you know, especially fond of?
And so, you know, the Order of Aetheron and the Knights are, I often say, are my favorite. It's the faction that I connect with the most. The knight in shining armor, you know, the heroes.
Yeah.
You know, so those are my favorite. But to say that I focus on any little thing, yeah. So
I
you know,
love that. Yeah, I just saw that a while ago, and I'm like, oh, I love that you did that.
Right. You know, so that owl was one of the Kickstarter exclusives for Gothotropolis.
Okay.
And it was probably the most rare piece that I own. So I decided to make that the relic that the relic guards were defending.
That's super. That's very,
you know,
very thoughtful. That's a good idea. I'd never,
right.
I was wondering what that was.
Yeah.
But I was like, oh, maybe I'll ask him. I'm like, maybe that's the owl Clash of the Titans. I don't know.
Yeah, no, it was actually like a Kickstarter exclusive piece for Gothotropolis, you know, and like I said, it's probably the most rare piece that I own. So I decided to throw that in there. And funny enough, I had actually miscounted on my relic knights. So there's supposed to be 12. There's only 11. You know, but that's the type of collector that I am. I'm always trying to justify in my mind a reason to buy more Mythic Legions.
Right. Yeah.
Because I love it. It makes me happy. I could just buy them, but that's irresponsible. So I have to talk myself into it. So
right.
when Jeremy does these wonderful things and say that there's 12 relic guards, you know, and
he's so good at that.
Yeah. And some people have teased me about it, you know, like you didn't have to buy 12. Well, no, I didn't have to. I want to at this point because I just love buying the figures, opening them, you know. And same thing with Swig, you know, like he did the Tale of a Thousand Swigs. So I was like, man, now I need to have 3 swigs, you know.
Yeah, I heard you saying that. Yeah, where you have them kind of peppered in your different, you know.
But then I was like, yeah, but they sent him out to spy. So now I kind of want a swig in every faction, you know. And in the evil factions, he can be himself. But if he's in the good faction, he would have to be in disguise. So I've actually started working on, you know, doing some pop and swap customs.
Absolutely.
You know, because it's just something fun for me to do to interact with the toys. Yeah, and play with them and things like that. So, so no, I don't have a focus in my buying. If an idea hits me and it's something that I want to do, I'm just gonna buy Mythic Legions because I love them all.
I think either your post or seeing you on one of the shows or that you do, like it got me to buy the Relic Knights because when I first saw them, I was like, I don't really like that horn helmet. So I'm not really interested in that, but like it did not occur to me to change their helmets out. So seeing that, I was like, oh, Joe, you know, changed the helmets. Like, why didn't I think of that? So, you know, I bought a couple at the last.
Yeah, it turns out the Valiant Knight helmets aren't too far off on color. You know,
I love that helmet, the Valiant Knight helmet.
Yeah, very cool, very cool. And I don't really like the frog helmet unless they're mounted. You know, if they're riding a horse, I feel like it's
an unusual helmet. I like it that it's different. Are you talking about the helmet, like the Red Shield Soldier helmet?
Yeah, it's a jousting helmet in real life. So or that's what it's based on. So in my mind, like and I have plenty of horses too, but I like to put that helmet on mounted. So, you know, knights. So I didn't want that one, but then having a few unique ones and then the rest be uniform is almost like there's a couple officers, you know, in front and then just the standard troops in the back, you know. And I don't know.
I love that. I love that.
Yeah.
And that's why I love to, you know, be in the Cabal because it's like, I don't know how many pop and swaps or customs that I've seen. And I'm like, oh, I want to try that. And I almost feel bad. Like I'm like, I have no like imagination or creative thoughts of my own.
Oh,
but I see these other people you know, with these cool ideas, you know, like this guy Joe Suter, who I've never met or ever talked to
Oh,
really.
Joe's awesome. Yeah, good dude.
Yeah, the pictures, like the pop and swaps that he creates and the poses, I'm like, I want to do that. I want to do that, you know? And
Yeah.
I think
I buy a
I think that's fun.
Joe has a Facebook or excuse me, an eBay account too, where he sells parts, Mythic
Oh,
Legions parts and Cosmic Legions parts. He's Skullbook 1. If anybody's
okay.
interested,
Good
definitely
to
take a
know.
look. I buy a lot of stuff from Joe. He's a good
I'm always
dude and
looking for
has a great.
the gold helmets from the it's in the Father Christmas, and I wish it was more available than just having to buy the Father Christmas figure. But it's
Right.
the gold you know, Valiant Knight helmet, you know, the rounded
Mm-hmm.
I love that helmet, and I love the gold knights, but you know,
Yes,
it's
me
hard
too.
for me. Like, I think I spent $30 just on one of the helmets. You see if I can grab it, but I just love the helmet. Um, so yeah, it's fun to try and catch, you know, every once in a while, you know, or to buy stuff off of friends in the cabal and stuff.
Right.
But yeah,
Yeah,
I love this
absolutely,
helmet
man.
so much. I just wish it
Right.
was easier to get. But yeah, I love this figure so much.
Yeah,
Simple things just make us happy, you know.
yeah, that was one of the things with the Gold Knights. I bought 2 all-ins of the reinforcement 2 wave. I have the original Gold Knight, so I didn't feel like I needed to display them, that way. Even though it's a different faction, I didn't feel like I needed to display them with the same look. So it was nice having
Mm-hmm.
those extra helmets, the one that he came with and the ones from Father Christmas to
Mm-hmm.
that reason, that way I have an excuse to have 2 or 3 Gold Knights in my display, and I'm
Yeah,
always looking for that kind of stuff. And
yeah,
the Lige figure, you know
I
um
love that figure. I'm a big
it's a
fan of that figure.
fantastic figure, and I'm always looking for extra helmets and things that color match with that one. I've
Mm-hmm.
got a few more. I've got 2 on my display right now, at least 2 more coming. And
Mm-hmm.
that's part of the fun of the line. Hey, here's
Absolutely.
a figure that I got 5 years ago on a spare head that I haven't used for anything.
Mm-hmm.
Bam, here's this brand new figure. I'm going to pop that on there, and
Yes.
it's a new character.
Yes. And I think they're smart in that, where they include multiple accessories or heads or helmets,
Absolutely.
because it appeals to your, well, now I need 2, or now I need, you know, like
Mm-hmm.
the Kaipacha figure comes
Yeah.
with 3 different heads, so people are like, oh, I need to, you know, I need to get 3 of those now, you know. So
Yep.
it kind of manipulates us in a fun way that we have to you know, get extras of that figure. But I mean, it's okay because the figures are so damn good, you know.
Oh yeah, absolutely, man. I'm right in that park. Like I want to have his whole crew together, and I might add a couple
Right.
more if they're appropriate, down the
Right. Yeah, I
line.
agree.
So,
I agree. Yeah, absolutely.
you know,
But it's just
those
fun.
are it is fun.
It's
And
just fun.
if I only buy 2 from the pre-order, then that's something that I have looking forward to hunting for later on down the line. Oh, I need to
Yes.
get that third one,
Yeah, absolutely.
and
That's
stuff
also
like that. So
a fun thing. It's a satisfying thing to and I love going to the cons and, you know, and
yeah.
picking up extras or something. Like I did that. I just um I would pick up a couple. They're such a good deal, you know,
Mm-hmm.
37, 36, $38 for these, you know,
Yeah.
amazing figures. It's worth it to pick up a couple, because you never know, could be a friend's looking for this or that in the cabal, and you know, you trade, you get something else out of it. So
Yeah, man.
it's
And even at the retail price at $50 for a
yeah,
standard figure, I mean, I can drop $50 on a Mythic Legions and not feel bad about it at all.
a
You
hundred
know, it's
percent.
just
Yeah, I mean,
like I don't feel like I'm not getting a value on them. Like they are worth that.
Yeah,
So
I mean,
yeah,
just looking at it,
exactly.
it's like it's a freaking work of art. It's an
Yeah.
amazing.
So if you can get it at a better price on them, absolutely. But that's
100%.
they're such great figures. I enjoy them so much.
Yeah,
But
yeah. Well,
yeah,
I enjoy
I'm
you
with you.
being here, man.
Yeah,
Um,
for sure. Thank you. Thank you for
I,
this
I,
opportunity. I really do
I,
appreciate it.
I would hope that you would come back. I know I'm kind of living it on time today. My fiance is looking at me like, "You almost done? You promised to take me out today, so I gotta,
Yeah.
I gotta
Hey,
make the lady happy too."
it's no problem. I completely understand. Having been divorced a few times, it's very important to
Yeah,
put
yeah.
put
I've been there. I've
relationships
been there.
first. Yeah, but
But
I'd be
I
more
would
than
love,
happy to come back. Yeah, down the line,
yes, I would love
absolutely.
that, and I would
Yeah,
love to
for sure.
see like maybe you could do like a tour of your collection if.
So that's actually planned. The reason that I hadn't done it, I was on Legion's Lair,
Mm,
and it was when my internet was bad. And again, those guys were so nice. They're, oh yeah, that's cool, and I watch it back, and I'm like, everything is so fuzzy, you can't see anything.
mhm,
Um, so now that I've upgraded my internet, I have an opportunity to do a good tour of my collection. But
okay,
unfortunately, I
I
live
look
in the
forward to that.
desert and everything is very dusty. So I need to clean my shelves. But
Mhm.
once I've done that, I'm going to do, and that'll be on the Let's Go Off World podcast channel. I'll be
Awesome. I
posting
look
it
forward
there
to
once
that.
I'm done.
Yeah,
Yeah,
I
for
look
sure.
forward to that.
So
Yeah, but yeah, I'd love to have you back. We'll figure out a time
yeah,
and
absolutely,
talk.
man.
We'll talk more
Absolutely.
mythics because I would love to talk more mythics. Your thoughts on the factions and the figures and articulation and um, delve
I
deeper into it.
I think that's one of my most favorite things to do. So you got me hooked on that right
All
off,
right.
man. Like
Yeah, me too, man. Me
you caught
too.
this fish. So
Yeah, me too. Well, I appreciate you giving me the hour. Thank you so damn much.
yeah, yeah,
It's an honor
no
for
problem at
me.
all.
You've been around in this community for quite a long time, and that you gave me an hour of your time is an honor, and I appreciate that very much.
Oh man, no problem at all. I'm happy to do this for sure. It was a joy for me too. When
Yeah,
you
it's fun.
first were like, hey, I want you to be on New to Mythics. I was like, not really new to myth. I'm not new. Then when you explain, then I'm
Yeah,
like,
it's
okay, yeah, yeah,
it's kind of for everyone. I just want people to feel comfortable and welcome.
yeah.
And I am gonna film some short videos, like instructional videos, about the figures, about the sales, about pre-orders.
Hmm.
What are
Excellent.
these pegs in the back for? What are these holes for? What are these, you know,
Right.
instructional stuff for people that are new to Mythics. But I just love hearing people's stories about how they came into the line and just the testimony of being here and how it's affected them and how what their output is creatively. Like I always think
Right.
that is so interesting. Like your output creatively a lot. It seems to be like the social part, like being on and talking and then also helping people that are in need of stuff. You're one of those people like Dennis that helps.
Dennis is the man. He definitely is leading the way on that, and it's very inspirational.
It is.
And
Yeah.
I like customizing. I like photography. Watching Trevor and Nate do what they do, really got me inspired to get into photography. But I don't have a lot of free time recently.
That's my struggle. Yeah.
Yeah, so I love customizing. It's one of my favorite things to do. I don't rush customs because if I do, they don't turn out. So
Yeah. It's
if
better
I
to
don't
take your
have the yeah, if I don't have the time to do it, I'm just going to wait until I have the time to do it.
time.
But there's not really a part of the hobby that I don't want to do. It's just comes down to what I have time for, and the social part of it. Getting on these videos and things like that is a great opportunity, and it's easy. It doesn't take the whole day, an hour or a
Yes.
few hours. But I get my hit of dopamine from talking about Mythic
Yes.
Legions.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And it's fun to connect with fellow fans You know, it's
Absolutely.
nice to talk about something that you're passionate about.
Hmm.
And we just, we're taping it and sharing it with others. So that makes
Yes.
it fun,
Yeah.
that other
And
people can enjoy it. And if they like it, then that's cool. I'm not out to, get all the viewers or all this or that. I just have a good time. And if other people like it too, then it's fun.
absolutely, absolutely. And I hope that
It's an
through
outlet.
videos like this, maybe new fans can also see that there are really good people in the community and it's not a
Yes,
negative to put yourself out there.
absolutely.
If you put
I
yourself out there in a positive way, people will be positive back to you.
100%
Absolutely.
totally agree. Totally agree. Thank you so much, Joe. I appreciate you,
Absolutely.
man. And I look forward to you coming on again.
All right. Thanks, Greg. I appreciate this opportunity.
Thank you guys for watching. I appreciate it. Have a good one. Remember, friends, to always have fun, be curious, share, and enjoy what this line has to offer. Come for the toys, but stay for the friends. Good night, and thank you very much.